I've never seen the NFL more talented, and with the end of the NFL season, it's time to rank the best players at every single position. What better position group to kick us off than wide receivers? I'm gonna say this right now, a few things that I look into when it comes to making these top 10 videos. One, durability. How many games were you able to play this year? Football is violent, players get injured, it is a part of the game, but the best way to be good is to be available. If you are hurt, you can't help your team. Therefore, you can't make these top 10 videos. Chris Godwin was on pace to have one of the best seasons of his career, and honestly would have found himself as an honorable mention, except he got hurt. Nothing he can do about it. It's part of the game. Hopefully he comes back strong, but that is just one example. Up into the actual top 10 video, I got 3 honorable mentions. First up, Mike Evans. He is elite. First ballot Hall of Famer. If Mike Evans could make the Hall of Fame today, he should make the Hall of Fame today. So we got Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy had a very weird season when Jameis Winston was their quarterback. He looked like a top 5 wide receiver of all time. But like for the first, 6 weeks, he was kind of just a guy out there. If you know, you know. Either way, he had a fantastic year. He should be a Pro Bowler, and I am very excited to see what Jerry Jeudy does going forward. 3, Malik Neighbors. Top 10 talent, but didn't have a quarterback. You can say the same thing for a lot of these guys on the list, but they put up better numbers. I'm sure I forgot about 4 different players just now that deserved an honorable mention, but that is the best part about ranking players. That said, though, let's just hop straight in to number 10. Number 10, I got Nico Collins. You could call me crazy for this one. Maybe you flip him and Malik Neighbors, but when Nico Collins was playing, again, he did get hurt. He looked like a top 10 guy on the field. Now, the Texans have been cold. They have been cold for the last few weeks, but Nico Collins has been that one lone bright spot. If we can pull up his game log right here, you guys can see start of the year on an absolute heater. Jacksonville put up 8 receptions, 120 yards. He started really good. Of course, he only played in 12 games this season, so that did knock him down a little bit. I do think Nico Collins is a top 10 guy. If you were, prepping for fantasy football already for next year, Nico Collins is a guy you are going to want to draft. The connection with him and CJ Stroud, it looks elite. We also don't know what the future of Tank Dell is going to look like. I don't think he's going to play next year. There is potential. You never know with modern medicine, but still. Nico Collins, CJ Stroud, I do expect them to get it together. Definitely had a fantastic year this season. I could definitely see Nico Collins raising up on this list going into the end of next season. For ranking this off pure talent, Puka Ada should probably be top 5, but again, he only played in 11 games and didn't crack 1,000 receiving yards. 1K receiving yards is not what it used to be, by the way. You guys see the shirt, but Juwan Jennings was 25 yards away from breaking 1K. 1K yards is not what it used to be, but if you watched football and you watched the Rams, you knew the Rams had one player in mind when it came to their offense, and that was Puka Ada. 79 receptions, 990 yards, 3 touchdowns. You might be like, dude, what is this guy talking about? Go watch Rams games. The entire offense of a division-winning football team was Puka Ada. He is by far a top 8 talent in this league, and he has officially passed Cooper Kupp as the best wide receiver on that team. Very excited to see what he can do next year, but when Puka Ada is on the field, top 10 guy for sure. One rookie cracking the top 10, and it's going to be Brian Thomas. 87 receptions, basically 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and he had Mac Jones and a basically cooked Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball all season. This is why the Malik Neighbor excuse of not having a quarterback really doesn't mean much to me. Brian Thomas looked insane. He looked like a seasoned veteran out there making professional defensive backs look like babies. Is he going to be the best wide receiver out of this draft class when it is all said and done? I don't know. There was a reason Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison were all drafted before him, but if we're purely basing it off of this season and what we have seen from Brian Thomas at college, at the combine, when he is playing football, this guy's legit. We have potential for this wide receiver class in general to be generational, but Brian Thomas this season, generational talent, one of the best fantasy steals of the season, and he had Mac Jones throwing him the ball for a good majority of this season. Jackson Smith-Njigba breakout season finally happened. If you guys watched him play at OSU, absolute stud. Iffy last season, but him and Geno Smith this year turned up. 100 receptions, 130 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. He was the Seattle Seahawks offense this year. That is an offense that has DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, Tyler Lockett, but I think JSN was by far the best player they had. There were games where he did disappear a little bit. You can check out his game log right here. But when he was hitting 180 yards, 110 yards, 117 yards, he was insane. Now, the offensive play calling over there it was iffy. He is gone now. You got Geno Smith throwing you the ball. How much longer is that going to be the case? I don't know. But if you are a Seattle Seahawks fan, you got a great one with JSN. And you should be excited because you got DK and JSN. Studs. 6, I got Terry McLaurin. I am a Commanders fan, so take that again for what you will. But I think Terry had another resurgence of a year. I was going to say breakout year, but we all know Terry is great. 82 receptions, basically 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. My only complaint with Terry's season, he did disappear at times. Somebody who watched Commanders game in depth, trust me, I would know. The first time we played the Eagles, it was not a good look. But Terry has been the definition of consistent with terrible quarterback play. Now that he has a competent, if not future MVP, I'm going to say it right now, and Jaden Daniels throwing him the ball, he turned up this season. And he did disappear at times, but when the lights were the brightest, Terry turned up the most. Last week against Dallas, the first time we played Dallas where the kicker missed the extra point, anytime we needed a clutch reception or a clutch play, you knew where the ball was going, and Terry made the play. He is the definition of a clutch wide receiver, and him and Jaden Daniels are going to be terrifying for defenses going into the future. I think 1 through 5, where we're about to hit right now, are in their own separate tier of wide receivers. Number 5, I got CeeDee Lamb. It was a little bit of a down year for CeeDee Lamb, but a down year for CeeDee Lamb is 101 receptions, basically 1,200 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. This guy is he's a stud. There's a reason he was going into the year as the best wide receiver in the league. He is that guy. Cowboys in general just had a very bad year. CeeDee Lamb, though, he did not have a bad year. It just the wide receiver position in general got better. He also did miss a few games. They shut him down early. I do not see a reason why CeeDee Lamb will not be in top 3 conversations next year. Once the season is all said and done and we're having this conversation come March, April, May, more than likely, CeeDee Lamb will probably climb his way back into the top 3. But if we're basing it off a what you did for me now basis, CeeDee Lamb, he missed the last few weeks. He still had an insane year, but I think people would look at this Lamb season as a little bit of a down year. That is only comparing it to CeeDee Lamb standards. This guy is a one-of-one talent, and the Cowboys, they got a good one. NFC East might have the best wide receivers in the entire NFL. And number 4, I got A.J. Brown. 67 receptions, 1,079 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Now, basing it on a statistical, just what's going on here, you might say, CeeDee Lamb had a better season than A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown was consistent, and when the Eagles needed him the most, he came through. Even when the whole world thought him and Jalen Hurts were beefing, he still found a way to turn up. A little bit of a slower start to the season, but by week, 4 or 5, we knew who A.J. Brown was. We know who A.J. Brown is. He's going to make big plays. I think he is the best deep ball wide receiver in the league. When I mean deep ball, I mean go up and get it. This guy is a beast. 3, I got Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is one of my favorite wide receivers to watch. 115 receptions, basically 1,300 yards, and 12 touchdowns. He just always finds a way to make plays when plays are needed. The Lions do have one of the best offenses in the entire league, so it does kind of help scheming up for St. Brown to get open. But again, he just makes plays. Probably the best slot wide receiver in the entire NFL. Great route runner, very good after the catch, and again, playmaker, and that is what you need from a top 3 wide receiver in the entire league. For 2, I got Justin Jefferson, and just looking at this stat line, 103 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 10 touchdowns, and what I thought honestly was a little bit of a down year for Justin Jefferson. It's been a down last few weeks because people have been scheming to stop Jettas, but then Jordan Addison goes absolutely crazy. Anytime defenses have to triple team you, double team you, that is when you know you are that guy. And if we're basing it off of this season alone, I do think Jamar Chase has had a better season, but Jettas, he is the most talented wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think anyone is going to argue me on that one, and he made Sam Darnold look like him. I think you have to give the number 1 spot to the Triple Crown winner himself. This was the easiest spot on the list to make. Jamar Chase. 127 receptions, 1,700 yards, 17 touchdowns. You threw him the ball, he made a play. Now, the Bengals are not going to make the playoffs, which sucks, but that is not Jamar Chase's fault. It's not the offense's fault to begin with. Looking at this stat line right here, you guys remember that Baltimore game? 11 receptions, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a loss because their defense couldn't buy a stop. This guy was on a tear all season. He earned himself a big payday. I don't know how much money he is going to actually get, but he is going to get a bag. Jamar Chase, best wide receiver this season. That said, boys, that is the top 10 best wide receivers in the NFL this season. Put down below, where do you agree? Where do you disagree? As always, I love to hear from you guys, and I'll catch you boys back here when I catch you. But until then, peace, gents. Have a good one.